I think I necessarily didn't get the opportunities under Greg, and I'm itching for an opportunity to show these guys that I can play and I can be that person for the team. I just need the opportunity. And, under BJ and under Anthony Hudson, they gave me a shot and gave my 2 caps, and hope I can prove during those games that I can show and I can play well. But hopefully with the future to come, I can be that guy and I get my opportunities and I'll take full advantage of it.
Hey, I need that opportunity too.
For sure. For those that are just listening, those are the words of Austin Trusty, Sheffield United, a center back looking to get his opportunity. So I guess this leads us into this question, and welcome back into Call It What You Want. I'm Jimmy alongside Chuck and Tony. And Chuck, I'm coming to you first because Austin Trusty is one of maybe a few players that could benefit from not just Mauricio Pochettino coming in, especially as a former center back himself, but also just a new voice, a new set of eyes. You know, he mentioned there, Austin, that he got that look under the assistance for Greg at that time when Greg was trying to renegotiate his contract and get back in. And so there's Austin Trusty, there's John Brooks, right? We talked about him as being with Matarazzo potentially coming back in. He plays for him in Hoffenheim. Matt Miazga, Jordy Pefok, Brandon Vasquez. Maybe there's a chance to convince Diego Luna to come back into the fold since he's teasing about playing for the Mexican national team and maybe some dual nationals. You got Luca Coliocho as well at Burnley. That might be interested now that Pochettino's involved. This kind of changes the landscape, and I think a real positive way because it's going to get everybody on their toes. Keep everybody on their toes.
You're right, Jimmy. This is a world-renowned manager. Everyone knows what he brings to the table, and I think he has great character. I think he's a good person, and he instills belief in a locker room. That's what he did at Tottenham. He gave them belief, and they thrived. When he was on the sidelines, they thrived. So for me, this is a wake-up call to any U.S. men's national team player or potential player that you got a chance now. This is a new manager who has no biases coming into this. There's no agents or favorites, or it's the best players for his system will get an opportunity. And if you're playing, guess what? You're going to get it called in. If you're playing and you're playing well, you're going to get called in. If you're not playing, good luck. Because I don't know another manager in the world, when you're not playing, you're getting called into a national team. It's just a fact.
Brother.
You need to play, and you need to play well to get called up for a national team. And if you're not playing, if you're not seeing any minutes, how the hell do you think you're going to get called up when Pochettino's going to be like, I don't know if you can play because I haven't seen you on the pitch. So how can I call you into a national team camp?
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, Tones, to set a precedent, a new precedent, right? That maybe those lines have been blurred under Greg. And also Greg was so heavy on those player relationships. Sometimes that can get in the way of minutes or not, right? Or how you're performing as a player in that particular moment.
Yeah, I think that the second point, how you're playing and performing, maybe gotten away. But according to all reports, and we had Guillaume Balaguer on a little bit earlier today on Morning Footy, who wrote one of his books, one of his biographies, and he was real big. He said he's real big on the player relationship. So I don't know that part's going to go away. It might be a little bit different. I think it's going to be more instead of I felt like in a lot of ways, Greg wanted it to be a brother relationship. Where Pochettino is going to be a dad relationship, a dad-son relationship.
That's a great distinction. Great distinction.
Yeah, which is obviously a little bit different from a player standpoint. So I don't know that part's going to change at all, Jimmy, because I still do think it's important, right?
Of course.
I think there's a line, right? And there always has to be a line, and when you start doing it, and I'm going to preach on this whole playing thing because you know what's going to happen when he says 2 months from now, you got to be playing at your club or you're not coming in, right? Think about how this roster might look, right? If that is the hard line in the sand, I don't think it's that hard, but I think he's going to tell these players, you got to before we go to the World Cup, you got to get your ass in a situation where you're playing all the time. If you're not playing at Milan, then go find a lesser club that you're going to play at week in and week out, or I can't use you. I can't use you.
And I want to throw this in because we already have some trolls up in the comments. I love it. I appreciate it. Trying to trigger me. But hey, listen.
Our manager of the chat, Charlie Davies.
From Chris Pahodas. He said, so if Christian Pulisic isn't good for for Pochettino's system, are we going to leave him off? Question mark.
That's a different question. Different system.
In what world are we talking about? My man's playing and he's a star at Milan. That's not going to be a question.
No.
He will fit into the plans. He will fit into the system.
Let's throw out the names, Charlie. Throw out the names. You got Matt Turner, who doesn't play.
Yes.
Right? You got Timothy Weah, who hardly plays, although this year might look different because you got Weston McKennie, who doesn't have a team. You have Flo Balogun, who doesn't play all the time. You have Brendan Aronson, who doesn't play all the time. I mean, I don't have the list in front of me, but
Miss Musa, Ricardo Pepi.
There you go.
I mean, how many? How many?
It's a long list.
It's just like keep coming.
Longer than it should be. Yes.
These players, and you need to talk about health, right? How many players are healthy? When you're dealing with injuries. So, if you are not playing at your club, and I get it, you want to be in the most competitive environment. You also want to be paid the most. So a lot of those bigger clubs pay you the most. But if you aren't playing and you know where you stand at your club, Ricardo Pepi, you're behind the captain at PSV. And sure, PSV is a great club for you, a great league if you're playing. But you're behind Luke de Jong, who's the captain, the top goal scorer. You are not playing unless there's an injury. You need to leave. You need to go. Otherwise, kiss that national team goodbye. Right? That's not going to happen for you. So there are players like that need to find a good spot where they're going to get the opportunities to play, and then it's on them to deliver. But at a club like PSV, he's not even going to get an opportunity. You come in 5 minutes here, 2 minutes here. You're just on the bench here or playing reserve games. It's just, when it's the right time to leave. And I really hope that we see a lot more players, take a chance to take a step back to take 2 steps forward.
Yeah, that would be a positive ripple effect, ultimately, of being able to come in clean and set this new precedent of how this team is going to be run in a lot of different ways.
Jim, sorry, man. I see. I just found where the comments are. I'm on.
Oh no, Tony's triggered now.
Go.
We got Tones triggered. What is happening? Tones has been triggered.
I love you guys. You triggered Tony.
You triggered Tones. He's the most steady player.
The first thing I read was something. I don't have my glasses on, so it's kind of hard. But I read something about MLS players. Guess what, my friends? Whoever's listening, Mauricio Pochettino is going to be scouring MLS for players. Don't fool yourself that any manager who comes in is not going to look in our domestic league for players to see who's in form. You might not like it, but it's his job to pick the guys that he thinks that fits this thing and can make something out of them on the national team level. So we can scrap that argument, and we might scrap it in camp number 1 for Mauricio Pochettino. Who knows how he's going to approach the whole thing? I think he's going to cast a wide net. There's going to be a big pool. But that idea and that notion is crazy if you think that's what it's going to look like.
Yeah, there's some other players, too, who are kind of been on the fringes or not involved at all, who do play regularly. John Brooks is a name that comes in. He's still relatively young and a good, Tim Ream has proven you can be a nice center back that ages like fine wine. And then you have Johnny Cardoso, who does play regularly and has been and looked very impressive for Real Betis in La Liga last season. Can he now break in and be considered one of the regulars? It's going to be pretty fun to see how it's all going to unfold. There's another angle, too, that I think is interesting because you have players. Walker Zimmerman said something after the Olympics, and then you had Tyler Adams, who said some comments on Men in Blazers recently, and he said this as a quote: "I think we need someone that's almost a little bit ruthless, coming in and putting everyone in their place. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's not really a conversation." We've seen this and heard this from different players in and around the player pool who have been mentioning we need a little bit more. For me, the underlying message here is we need some more accountability. Like if you're not playing well,
we weren't getting that.
We weren't getting
that. Berhalter is basically
why you don't hire
somebody
for a second goddamn cycle. I'm sorry, especially here in America.
Hey,
I know in other countries it's different.
Forgive the man. I'll tell you right now, if it meant rehiring the wrong candidate to get Pochettino in the end,
one step back for 2 steps forward, Chuck.
Exactly.
I love that mentality.
There you go. Let's go. So Crocker ends up
too.
Getting it right. All right.
I didn't even see a comment to get triggered. Actually, Tyler Adams triggered me with that comment. Thank you, Tyler.
There you go. And I love that Tony Meola can now see the comments. So let's go, people. Trigger the hell out of Tony.
Well, I'm
Trigger
going
'em.
to dive in at some point here with these glasses.
Be
but-
careful. Tread carefully.
Yeah,
Tread carefully.
here's something I thought on the ride back from the studio here. I was thinking about because you mentioned Kolyosha. Is it Kolyosha or Kolyosho? I can't
Kolyosha.
remember.
Kolyosho.
A guy like that who, and you know they're out there because U.S. Soccer, every dual national they're on. So let's not make any mistake about that. They're on all of these guys. But a guy like that who maybe sits on the fence, right, and says, well, I'm looking at the U.S. team. They don't have a manager. They're in a mess right now. They just got knocked out of Copa America. And then all of a sudden he goes, hold on, man. They just hired Mauricio Pochettino, right? How does that change that conversation for a player like that? And he's not the only one out there. I'm sure there's others out there that they're scouring, and because they do it, they've been doing it for years. That might also be a benefit, a major benefit of Pochettino getting named to this job as well. So I didn't want to forget that sort of the angle, if you will.
No, 100%. And another thing that I wanted to touch upon as it pertains to player and player relationships, and you guys weren't part of the last show, but I had mentioned the ask that he had of Harry Kane during his time at Tottenham. He was the one that I think instituted and most likely convinced Harry Kane, I need you to drop from your 9 spot into midfield and start to unlock defenses that way, which allows Heung-min Son to run in behind. And I wonder if any of our players are going to do their homework on Pochettino and how he likes to play. Because if you're a number 9 now, and you've seen what he's done with Harry Kane in particular, using that as an example, Chuck, as our resident number 9 here on Call It What You Want, when Brian McBrizzle McBride isn't here as well. But there was something that he added to Harry Kane's game that I think has now made Harry Kane the best passing number 9 in the world. And I wonder if he can identify other parts of our players and maybe realize some potential that they have yet to tap into in a more meaningful way or more consistent way. But I find that to be interesting. Can he look at our team and say, how can we get even more? That's obviously what he's being brought in to do. Yes. But using Harry Kane as an example, that must have been hard. Hey, Harry, I need you to do something that you really haven't done a lot of. And I'm going to really try to exploit that because I think it can give us some success. And I wonder if you're looking at it. You
also have every single day to work on it as a manager.
So therein lies the rub, right?
But Jimmy, I think when you got it, you got it. When you're a top manager, you understand. I think for Mauricio Pochettino, he's going to come in and say, there might be a slight learning curve of, maybe this works at the club level versus the international level because of the time spent with the players. But he knows what the hell he's doing. We wouldn't want anyone else in this position right now. I'll tell you that. Other than Jurgen Klopp, Pochettino's the top target, and we got him. That's incredible. What a landing spot for us to figure out that, or to find that Mauricio Pochettino can come in and say, all right, guys, this is how we're going to find success. And we know, Tony and I, we talked about it this morning on Morning Footy. He's organized. He's structured. He will find the strengths of the U.S. men's national team and play to those strengths. And then sharpen those weaknesses. How can we get away from being so weak in certain areas? And the most important thing, something that we all have experienced, is the hope, the belief that we can win. And Emma Hayes has touched on it with the U.S. women's national team, pushing through your limits, pushing past your limits. Don't say, hey, this is when we're stopped or we're tired or we can't. Keep going. I'm going to keep telling you, you can give more. And I think that's what Pochettino instills in all of the players in the locker room. And that's why I couldn't be more excited for our program.
Yeah, I'm thrilled as well. And Tones, while we're kind of in this individual player conversation or part of the conversation, Gagla Slonina, right? Obviously under the Chelsea umbrella. Pochettino was managing Chelsea last year. I'm pretty sure he's aware of him in particular. Now he's going to get more minutes at Barnsley. What do you think about Gaga's chances? Because if Matt Turner's not playing regularly, or if Ethan he's at Cardiff and whatever reason he's not seen as the guy, where do you think Gaga fits into this puzzle?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because he's going to play now, right? And he's going to play in League One in Barnsley, and hopefully next year he'll be in League Two leading into the World Cup. In the Championship, a League Up, or with the first team. And that is a discussion we're going to have over and over again because Matt Turner, I believe it was 7 or 8 games, I can't remember off the top of my head, played in cup games leading into the World Cup for Arsenal, right? So it was almost enough to keep him sharp, and he looked sharp in the World Cup. I thought he was really good in the World Cup. But
agreed.
we're at a point now where he's playing less and less and less and less. And I think it showed in this Copa America. And I don't think if you play that many minutes, you can think 2 years down the road, he's going to be your goalkeeper. He's got to find a position where he's playing all the time. And I don't know where that club is. He doesn't know where that club is. So you got him, you got Ethan Horvath, who's going to play. Hopefully he'll continue to improve. Schulte just played in the Olympics, and I think we saw some frailties there with him, right? But I think he played because Gaga Slonina was in the offseason. So this is really important for Gaga. He's going to play a part in 2026. Can he push to wear the number 1 jersey? I sure hope so, because that would mean we're in a good position. Then he's played really, really well. I hope it's not Gaga plays because our other 3 goalkeepers aren't playing somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. I hope
Tony,
it's because
in the comments, they're saying you were a Chicago fan and you watched Gaga. That's the only reason he doesn't really have the
don't
talent.
go. Wait.
No,
Listen, Gaga just had a great debut at Barnsley. Don't let him. No, Tones. Don't take that bait. That's bait.
Charlie.
No.
Charlie was the fan who wrote it. That's his.
That's right.
His
Charlie's
burner
burner account is in the comments.
Jimmy, why'd you have to ruin it, man?
Now
Why'd you have to ruin
Listen,
it?
Gaga had a great debut at Barnsley, 5 saves, 2 penalty shootout saves. He's expected to be the starter. So right now, everything's looking pretty good there.